Hello, everyone, and welcome to English Talk Time.
Hi, thank you for coming.
Hello, and welcome back to English Talk Time. Hi, everyone. We're really happy you're here with us today, and I'm Olivia, speaking slowly and clearly as always.
And I'm Noah. Nice to see you, and we're glad you decided to spend a little time learning with us.
We make videos to help you practice real, everyday English in a calm, simple, and friendly way, so you can feel more comfortable using English in your daily life.
Please, like and subscribe if you enjoy the video, because it really helps the channel.
Today, we're going to talk about how to speak about religion in English in a simple, calm, and respectful way, using everyday language that feels natural and safe in real conversations.
Yes? And we'll start with a short warm-up chat, then move into a friendly main conversation. After that, we'll look at some practical examples, share useful phrases you can use, and finally practice together slowly.
Everything will be simple, clear, and neutral, so you can listen, follow along, and feel comfortable.
All right, are you ready to get started?
So, before we start today's main topic, let me ask you, how are you doing today? And how has your week been so far? Because it's always nice to slow down and check in first.
I'm doing pretty well, actually. The week has been a bit busy with work and small daily tasks, but nothing too stressful, so I feel okay overall.
Oh, that sounds good. Busy, but manageable is usually a nice place to be, especially when you still have time to rest a little in the evening.
Exactly, and the weather has been nicer lately, so I went for a short walk after work a few times, which helped me relax and clear my head.
That sounds really nice. A short walk can make a big difference, especially after sitting or thinking all day.
Yes, and on the weekend, I spent some time with my family. Nothing special, just eating together and talking, but it felt comfortable and familiar.
Oh, I like that. Simple plans like that are often the best because you don't have to rush or plan too much.
True, it was calm, and I feel more relaxed now as we start this lesson together.
That's great to hear. And since we're feeling settled and ready, shall we move on and start talking about today's topic now? All right, let's begin properly now and start talking about religion in simple, calm English, just like people do in everyday life.
Yes, that sounds good to me. Let's really talk about it in a respectful and comfortable way together.
So let me start by asking you something simple. When people talk about religion, they often begin with family. So how would you talk about your family background in a calm, neutral way?
I think I would say something like, I grew up in a religious family, but we were not very strict about it.
That sounds good, and you can hear how you said, I grew up in, which is a very natural and common way to begin talking about background.
Yes, I notice people say that a lot, but sometimes I'm not sure how much detail to give, especially with people I don't know well.
That's a good point. And in everyday conversations, you can keep it simple. For example, you can say, I grew up in a religious family, or my family follows a religion, and then you can stop there.
Oh, I like that because it feels safe and not too personal.
Exactly. And if you want to add a little more, you can say something like, my family is Christian, or my family is Muslim, or my family is Buddhist, just stating it calmly.
Right, so I don't need to explain everything. I can just share a small part.
Yes, that's right. And notice how neutral that sounds, because you're not giving opinions or reasons. You're just describing your background.
Let me try again, so I could say, I grew up in a Hindu family, and religion was part of our daily life.
That's very clear. And a simple upgrade could be, I grew up in a Hindu family, and religion was a quiet part of our daily life, if you want it to sound a little softer.
Oh, that's nice, quiet part. Sounds gentle.
Yes, small words can change the feeling, and that helps conversations stay comfortable.
Can I also say something like, My family celebrates religious holidays, but we don't talk about religion all the time.
Absolutely. That's a very natural sentence, and many people speak like that, especially when they want to show balance.
Okay, that makes sense because not everyone practices the same way, even in the same religion.
Exactly. Everyone is a little different, and when you talk about your family background calmly, it helps other people feel relaxed too.
I can see that. It feels more like sharing information, not starting a serious discussion.
Yes? And that's the goal here. Just simple sharing in everyday English without pressure or explanation. Now let's talk a little about traditions and daily routines, because this is another common and natural way religion comes up in everyday conversations.
Yes, I notice that people often mention small habits, not big beliefs, when they talk about this.
Exactly. And that's a good place to start, because you can simply describe what you do without explaining why or what it means.
So for example, I could say, in my family, we usually pray in the morning and stop there.
That's perfect. And you used usually, which sounds very natural and flexible, not too strong.
I like that word because it doesn't sound strict or serious.
Yes. And you can also talk about routines like visiting a place of worship, for example. We go to the temple once a week, or I go to church sometimes.
Oh, sometimes. Sounds very comfortable, like there is no pressure.
Exactly. And comfort is important in these conversations, especially with coworkers or friends.
Let me try another one. Maybe I could say, my parents follow daily traditions, but I practice in my own way now.
That sounds very natural, and it shows respect for your family while also sharing your own routine.
Yes, because many people change their habits a little as they get older.
That's very true, and you can say it simply, like, I still follow some traditions, but not all of them.
I like that sentence because it feels honest and calm.
Exactly. And notice how you're not comparing or judging, you're just describing your life.
Can I also talk about food traditions, like eating certain foods on special days?
Yes, definitely. Food is a very common and friendly topic, and you could say, we eat special food on religious days, or there are certain foods we don't eat.
Oh, that feels easy to say, and people usually understand that quickly.
They do. And if someone asks more, you can decide how much you want to share.
So, the key idea is to talk about routines and traditions in a simple, everyday way.
Exactly, just small details, calm words, and a relaxed tone. Another time, religion often comes up naturally, is when people talk about holidays, because many holidays are connected to family time, food, and traditions.
Yes, that's true. People often ask questions like, do you celebrate this holiday? Or, what do you usually do on that day?
Exactly. And those questions are usually friendly, so you can answer in a simple and relaxed way.
So, I could say something like, yes, we celebrate it with our family, without giving too much detail.
That's perfect. And you can also add a small detail if you want. For example, we usually eat together and spend the day at home.
I like that, because it sounds more about family than religion.
Yes. And that often feels more comfortable in everyday conversations, especially at work or with classmates.
Let me try another example. Maybe I could say, during this holiday, we visit relatives and share special food.
That sounds very natural, and special food is a great phrase because it's simple and easy to understand.
Sometimes people ask me why the holiday is important, and I'm not always sure how to answer.
In that case, you can keep it short and neutral. For example, it's an important day in my religion, or it's a traditional holiday for my family.
Oh, that feels safe, because I don't have to explain the meaning.
Exactly. You're sharing information, not teaching or persuading.
Can I also say something like, we don't celebrate it in a big way, but we still notice the day?
Yes, that's a very good sentence, and many people talk like that, especially when celebrations are quiet.
That makes sense, because not all holidays are loud or public.
Right. And you can also talk about timing, for example. It happens once a year, or it lasts for a few days.
I see. Those small details help people understand without going too deep.
Exactly. And if someone shares their holiday with you, a simple response like, "That sounds nice," or "That's interesting," keeps the conversation friendly.
Yes, it feels more like everyday small talk, not a serious discussion.
And that's the goal. Talking about religious holidays in a calm, simple, and respectful way. Now let's talk about situations where religion comes up with friends, coworkers, or classmates, because this can feel a little sensitive if you're not sure what to say.
Yes, especially at work or school. I sometimes worry about saying the wrong thing or making people uncomfortable.
That's very understandable. And the good news is that you can keep things polite and neutral by focusing on simple facts about yourself.
So, if a coworker asks me, "Are you religious?" what could I say?
You could say something like, "Yes, I follow a religion," or "A little, but I don't talk about it much at work," which sounds very calm.
Oh, I like that second one because it sets a small boundary in a friendly way.
Exactly. And boundaries can be gentle. They don't have to sound serious or negative.
What if someone asks about my beliefs during a break or a casual chat?
Then you can answer simply, for example, "I grew up with a religion, and it's still part of my life," and then you can change the topic naturally.
That feels easy to say and not too personal.
Yes. And if someone shares their beliefs with you, a good response can be, "Thanks for sharing," or "That's interesting," without adding more.
So I don't need to agree or disagree, I can just listen.
Exactly. Listening is often enough in these situations.
Sometimes people ask questions out of curiosity, not because they want a deep discussion.
That's very true. And you can answer in the same light way, with short and clear sentences.
Let me try one. I don't talk about religion very often, but I respect different beliefs.
That's a very good sentence, and it sounds polite and thoughtful at the same time.
It also feels safe, like I'm not inviting a debate.
Exactly, and that's important, especially in mixed groups where people believe different things.
So the main idea is to be clear, calm, and respectful, and not say more than I want to.
Yes. And when you speak this way, most people will feel comfortable and understand your tone. Now let's look at a few short, real-life stories, because stories help show how people actually talk about religion in everyday situations.
Yes, stories feel more natural, and I can imagine myself in the situation more easily.
Exactly. So here's a simple one. When I was a child, my family used to visit our place of worship on weekends, and for me it was mostly about being together.
Oh, that sounds familiar, because in my family it was similar. It was less about thinking deeply and more about routine and family time.
That's a good way to say it. And notice how you focused on the feeling and the habit, not on beliefs.
Right, because that feels easier to share with people I don't know very well.
Here's another small story. I once had a coworker who asked me about my religion during lunch, and I simply said, "It's part of my background, but I don't really talk about it much at work."
Eh? That sounds very polite, and it also sounds clear.
Yes. And the conversation moved on naturally, without any awkward feeling.
Let me try a short one too. When I met a new classmate, they told me about their religion, and I said, "That's interesting, thanks for sharing."
That's perfect. And you didn't add any judgment or opinion, just a respectful response.
Sometimes I worry that I should say more, but maybe saying less is better.
Exactly. Saying less often keeps the conversation comfortable.
What if someone says something very different from my beliefs?
In that case, you can say something simple like, "I see," or "I respect that," and then continue with another topic.
Oh, I respect that. Sounds calm and kind.
Yes, and it shows openness without agreement or disagreement.
I like that because it helps avoid misunderstandings.
And one more quick story. During a holiday, a friend asked me why I don't celebrate it, and I said, "It's not part of my tradition, but I hope you enjoy it."
That's very friendly, and it still shows respect.
Exactly. And these small, simple responses are what people use most often in real life.
I can see now that talking about religion can be calm and simple, not stressful.
Yes. And that calm tone helps everyone feel at ease in the conversation. So, before we move on, let's pause for a moment and look at what we've been doing in this conversation, because the same simple patterns keep appearing again and again.
Yes, I noticed that we keep talking about facts, routines, and personal background, not opinions or explanations.
Exactly. And that's a very important point, because when you talk about religion in everyday English, describing your life is usually enough.
So instead of saying what I believe deeply, I can say what I do, what my family does, or what is normal for me.
That's right. And those sentences are often short and calm, like, I grew up with it, it's part of my background, or we celebrate it quietly.
I also noticed that you often added soft words like usually, sometimes, or a little.
Yes, those words help keep the conversation open and relaxed, and they show flexibility without needing explanation.
That makes sense, because strong words can sound serious, even when we don't mean them to.
Exactly. And another pattern we used was respectful listening, especially when someone shares something different.
Like saying, that's interesting, or I respect that, and then not pushing the topic further.
Yes. And that's very natural in real conversations, especially at work or in mixed groups.
I also liked how we showed small boundaries without sounding rude.
That's an important skill, and simple sentences like, I don't really talk about it much, or I keep it private, work very well.
It feels good to know that I don't have to answer every question fully.
Exactly. You always choose how much to share, and simple English gives you that control.
So, the main idea is calm language, short sentences, and respect for everyone.
Yes. And when you speak this way, conversations usually stay friendly and comfortable.
I feel more confident now because it feels practical, not difficult.
That's great. And next, we'll look at some clear, practical examples so you can see how this sounds in real situations. Now let's look at some clear and practical examples so you can hear how people talk about religion politely in real situations without feeling uncomfortable or too personal.
Yes, I think examples really help because I can imagine myself saying these sentences in real life.
Exactly. So let's start with a common situation, talking about religion politely at work, where people often want to stay respectful and professional.
Okay, so maybe a coworker asks during a break, do you celebrate this holiday?
In that case, you could say, yes, it's part of my background, but we usually keep it simple, which sounds calm and work appropriate.
Oh, I like that because it answers the question but doesn't invite a long discussion.
Exactly. And if you want to keep it even shorter, you could say, yes, I do, but I don't really talk about religion much at work.
That feels very polite and clear at the same time.
Yes, and most people will understand and move on naturally.
Okay, that makes sense.
Now, let's look at another situation, talking with a new friend or a classmate, where the conversation is more personal but still casual.
Right, like when someone asks, did you grow up with a religion?
You could answer, yes, I grew up in a religious family and some traditions are still part of my life, which sounds open but not too detailed.
That feels friendly, and it sounds like normal conversation.
Exactly. And if the other person shares their experience, a good response is simply, that's interesting, or thanks for telling me, without comparing.
So I don't need to explain my beliefs. I can just listen.
Yes, listening is often enough in these moments.
All right.
Now let's look at a third situation, when someone directly asks about your beliefs, which can sometimes feel a bit personal.
Yes, that question can feel difficult.
In that case, you can answer in a neutral way. For example, it's part of my background, but I keep my beliefs private, which is calm and respectful.
Oh, that sounds very safe to say.
Yes, and you can also add respect for others by saying, I respect that everyone believes different things.
I like that because it keeps the conversation positive.
Exactly. And after that, you can gently change the topic, which is very natural in everyday English.
These examples make it feel much easier and less stressful.
That's the goal, using simple, calm English to talk about religion politely in real life. Now, let's slow things down a little and focus on reinforcing the language we've been using so you can hear it again, notice the patterns, and feel more confident using these sentences yourself.
Yes, I like this part because repeating and hearing the phrases again really helps them feel more natural.
First, let's look at some useful phrases we already use to describe beliefs and traditions in a calm and neutral way without giving too much detail.
Okay, I'm ready.
Here are a few simple and common phrases. You heard these earlier, and people use them a lot in real conversations. I grew up in a religious family. This is a very natural way to talk about background. Religion is part of my background. This sounds neutral and informative. We celebrate some religious holidays. This focuses on actions, not beliefs. I still follow a few traditions. This sounds flexible and calm. We usually keep it simple. This helps soften the meaning and keeps the tone relaxed.
I noticed that all of these sound descriptive, not emotional.
Exactly. And that's why they work well in everyday English. Now let's look at some very useful phrases for showing respect when other people talk about their beliefs.
This part feels important, especially in mixed groups.
Yes, and these phrases help you stay polite and neutral. I respect that. Very short, very calm. That's interesting. A friendly listening response. Thanks for sharing. This shows appreciation without agreement. Everyone is different. This keeps the conversation open. I don't really talk about religion much, but I respect different beliefs. This one is longer, but very useful.
I like that one because it feels safe and kind at the same time.
Yes, and safety and kindness are exactly what we want in these conversations. Now let's practice together. Please repeat after us and take your time.
We'll start with a very simple sentence.
Repeat after me. I grew up in a religious family.
Again, I grew up in a religious family.
Good. Now let's try a slightly longer sentence. I grew up in a religious family, but we were not very strict.
Let's try it one more time. I grew up in a religious family, but we were not very strict.
Nice. Now let's build it a little more. I grew up in a religious family, but we were not very strict and we usually kept things simple.
Take your time and try again. I grew up in a religious family, but we were not very strict and we usually kept things simple.
That sounds great.
Yes, even long sentences feel easier when you build them step by step.
Now let's practice some respectful responses. That's interesting.
Jane, that's interesting.
I respect that.
One more time. I respect that.
Now a longer one. I don't really talk about religion much, but I respect different beliefs.
Let's try it again slowly. I don't really talk about religion much, but I respect different beliefs.
Very good. Now let's practice a short, neutral mini dialogue. Please repeat each full sentence after us.
Imagine this is a calm, everyday conversation.
Did you grow up with a religion?
Yes, I grew up in a religious family, but we usually kept things simple.
That's interesting. Thanks for sharing.
Let's try a second short dialogue.
Do you celebrate this holiday?
Yes, it's part of my background, but I don't really talk about religion much at work.
I respect that.
These feel very natural and calm.
Yes, and these are the kinds of sentences people really use in everyday English.
Practicing them like this makes me feel much more confident.
That's exactly the goal. Clear, respectful language that helps you feel comfortable speaking. So today, we practiced how to talk about religion in English in a calm, simple, and respectful way by sharing our background, daily traditions, holidays, and polite responses that feel natural in everyday conversations.
Yes, we talked about using neutral language, short explanations, and kind listening phrases, so conversations can stay comfortable at work, with friends, or with people you don't know very well.
Now, you can talk about your own religion or beliefs in simple English, explain your traditions if you want, and respond respectfully when other people share something different.
That's a really useful skill, because it helps you feel more confident and relaxed in real-life situations.
Here's our question of the day for you, and you can answer it in one simple sentence. What is one tradition or holiday that is part of your background? For example, you could say, "My family celebrates a holiday together once a year."
Please write your answer in the comments, because we really enjoy reading what you share and seeing people practice together.
If you enjoyed this lesson and found it helpful, please like and subscribe, because it really helps the channel.
Thanks for learning with us today.
See you next time, and bye for now.